The discovery. The battlefield was silent, but it was not the silence of peace. It was the silence of ashes, broken ships, and bodies that would never rise again. Smoke still rose from the ruins, and the ground was black with fire and blood. The war had ended here, but the ghosts of the fallen still seemed to breathe in the air. He walked carefully among the wreckage, a human soldier who had survived when many had not. His name was Captain Elias, but he no longer felt like a captain. He felt like a man searching for meaning in a place where hope had died. He had been ordered to search the ruins, maybe for survivors, maybe for weapons, maybe for answers. But Elias did not believe he would find anything except shadows and pain. His boots crunched over broken metal, and every step echoed in the hollow world. Then he heard it. At first it was so soft he thought it was just the wind. A faint sound, thin and trembling. It came again, and this time he knew it was not the wind. It was the sound of a child crying. Elias froze. His heart jumped. A child? Here? Impossible. He followed the sound, moving past the wreckage of a broken transport ship. He stepped over the twisted body of an enemy soldier. His hands tightened on his weapon. He expected a trap. But when he pushed away the burnt panel of a door, his eyes widened. She was there, a small alien girl, no more than 7 years old. Her skin was pale blue, her hair tangled with dust. Her large silver eyes stared at him with fear and sorrow. She was sitting beside the body of a woman who looked just like her. The mother was gone, her body cold, her face turned to the sky. The girl did not move when Elias appeared. She only hugged her knees tighter, and her tiny shoulders shook with quiet sobs. Elias felt something in his chest, a sharp pull. He had seen many things in war, but this cut deeper. A child left alone, crying beside her dead mother. For a moment he did not know what to do. His orders were to search and report. But could he really leave her here? He slowly lowered his weapon. He crouched, his voice calm. "It's all right. I won't hurt you." The girl did not answer. Her silver eyes were filled with tears, but also with something else, something like trust. Elias reached out his hand. His fingers trembled. He had lost so much, seen so much death, but in that moment he felt like maybe saving one small life could matter. The girl hesitated, then slowly placed her tiny hand in his. Her hand was cold, but alive. Elias looked down at the mother's body. He whispered a silent promise. "I'll protect her." He wrapped the girl in his cloak. She was light, too light, as if she had not eaten for days. Her head rested against his chest, and he could feel her heartbeat, fragile but strong. He stood carrying her through the ruins. The silence around him felt different now, not just the silence of death, but also the silence of something new, something fragile. But then in the distance he heard voices, harsh, angry, searching. Enemy soldiers were still nearby. They were hunting for survivors. Elias's breath tightened. If they saw the girl, they would kill her, or worse. He pressed himself against the wall of a broken building, holding her close. The voices grew louder. The girl's breathing quickened. She was afraid. "Shh," Elias whispered. "Don't make a sound." The soldiers passed by, their boots heavy on the broken ground. They spoke in a language Elias did not fully understand, but he knew enough to hear the words. "Find the child. She must not live." Elias's blood ran cold. They were looking for her. This little girl was not just a survivor, she was the target. He waited until the voices faded. His mind raced. Why were they after her? Who was she? He looked down at the girl. Her eyes were wide, filled with fear and sadness. But she did not cry out. She clung to him, as if she already knew he was her only chance. Elias made his choice. He would not abandon her. He would not let the soldiers find her. The journey ahead would be dangerous. He knew that. But leaving her behind would be worse. He whispered, "I don't know who you are, but I'll get you out of here." As he moved through the ruins, carrying her toward the unknown, he felt the weight of destiny on his shoulders. This was no longer about orders. This was no longer about the war. This was about her, and he did not yet know that this girl found beside her dead mother would change everything. His life, her family, and maybe the fate of the galaxy itself. The secret escape. The night was cold and heavy. The ruins whispered with danger. Captain Elias carried the alien girl close to his chest, wrapping her in his cloak. She was trembling but silent. Her silver eyes looked at him as if asking one question. "Will you keep me safe?" Elias did not answer aloud, but inside his heart, he made the promise again. He would not let her fall into the hands of the soldiers who hunted her. The battlefield stretched behind them like a graveyard of broken dreams. Fires still burned in the distance, casting shadows that moved like ghosts. Every sound seemed louder in the silence, the crunch of his boots, the rustle of metal scraps. The girl's soft breathing. He stopped often, listening. The soldiers were still searching. Their torches flickered in the dark. Their voices carried through the ruins. They wanted her. They had said the words with anger and fear. She must not live. Why, Elias did not know. But he knew one thing. If they found her, she would die. He moved carefully, keeping to the shadows. His soldier's instincts guided him. Every corner could be a trap, every light a warning. He had survived many battles, but this was different. This was not survival for himself. This was survival for her. The girl clung to him. Sometimes her small hands tightened around his cloak. Sometimes her head pressed harder against his chest. She was afraid, but she did not cry out. She was strong in her silence. Elias admired that strength. He whispered softly, "We'll get out, I promise." Hours passed like years. He avoided the patrols. He crossed streets filled with ash. He crawled through tunnels where the air was thick with dust. Once he nearly stumbled upon a group of soldiers resting near a broken tank. The girl's eyes widened, but Elias covered her with his cloak, holding her close as he crouched in the shadows. The soldiers laughed and talked, their voices harsh. "The child is dangerous. She must be destroyed before the others find her." Others? Elias's heart sank. Who else was looking for her? And what did they mean by dangerous? She was just a child. The girl shivered as if she understood the words. Her small hands clutched Elias's arm tighter. When the soldiers moved on, Elias continued, his mind full of questions. The war had been cruel, but this was different. Why was a child hunted like a weapon? They reached an old shelter. Half buried under rubble, Elias pushed the door open. The air inside was stale but safe. He laid the girl down gently on a broken seat. She looked at him with tired eyes. Her lips moved, but her voice was so soft he almost did not hear. "Mama said they would come. They want me because I am the last." "The last?" Elias leaned closer. "The last of what?" But the girl closed her eyes. She was too weak to answer. Sleep took her. Elias sat beside her, his rifle ready, his thoughts heavy. The last. Those words echoed in his mind. Was she the last of her people? The last heir of some powerful family? Or something even greater? Outside, the night grew colder. The stars shone above the ruined world. Elias watched them through a crack in the roof. His heart felt heavy. He was just a soldier, a man tired of war, and yet here he was, guarding a child who might hold secrets that could shake the galaxy. Suddenly, the sound of engines broke the silence. Elias rushed to the window. Lights moved in the distance, vehicles, patrols, searching. They were sweeping the area. They were getting closer. Elias's pulse raced. He had to move. If they found this shelter, both he and the girl would die. He woke her gently. "We need to go, little one." She blinked, her silver eyes shining in the dark. She did not ask questions. She simply nodded. Her trust in him was complete. Elias lifted her again, wrapping her in the cloak. He opened the back door of the shelter and slipped out into the night. The city beyond was a maze of destruction. Bridges broken, towers collapsed, streets filled with debris. But Elias saw a path. a narrow way through the ruins that led to the hills beyond. If he could reach the hills, maybe they could escape. But then he heard it again. The voices. The soldiers were close, too close. Search every building. She cannot escape. The child must die tonight. Elias's blood turned cold. The girl buried her face in his chest. He held her tighter. He moved quickly, but every step was a gamble. He ducked into shadows. He crossed streets like a ghost. The sound of boots and shouts followed him. At one point, a beam of light swept across him. He froze, holding his breath. The girl's small hand pressed against his heart. The light passed. The soldiers did not see. Elias moved again. His legs burned, but he kept going. He would not stop. Finally, the hills rose before him, dark shapes against the sky. If he could reach them, they would be safe for now. But as he climbed, the girl lifted her head. Her voice soft but clear. They will not stop. They will follow us, always. Elias looked down at her. Her silver eyes glowed faintly in the dark. In that moment, he felt it again. The weight of destiny. This child was more than a survivor. She was a key, a secret, a spark that could light the galaxy or burn it. And the soldiers were not the only ones searching. He could feel it in his bones. Others would come. As the first light of dawn touched the sky, Elias reached the ridge. The world stretched before them, endless, broken, dangerous. But he held her close and whispered, "Then we'll run, and we'll keep running, until I find the ones who will protect you." Behind them, the sound of engines roared louder. The hunt had only begun. The dangerous journey. The sun rose weakly. Over the broken land, its light touched the ruins with pale fire, turning the shattered towers into long shadows. Captain Elias stood on the ridge with the alien girl in his arms. The night had been long, filled with fear and whispers of soldiers, but the morning brought no comfort. From the ridge, he could see how far the destruction stretched. Entire cities lay silent, rivers of smoke rising into the sky. The girl stirred, her silver eyes opening slowly. She looked out at the wasteland and said nothing. Her silence was heavier than words. Elias tightened his grip. "We'll make it," he whispered. He had to believe it. He had to make her believe it too. He began the climb down the ridge. His boots slid on loose rocks. His back ached, but he did not slow. The girl was too light in his arms, too fragile. He knew she needed food, water, rest, but there was no time. Not while the soldiers hunted. The land beyond the ridge was no safer. The roads were cracked. The air still smelled of fire. Every few steps, Elias scanned the horizon, his soldier's eyes searching for danger. He spotted patrols in the distance, vehicles moving, drones humming overhead. The search was growing wider. They wanted her badly. Elias carried her into an old tunnel where the ground had split open. The tunnel was dark, cold, filled with dripping water. His steps echoed. The girl clung to him tighter. "Are you afraid?" Elias asked quietly. Her voice was soft, trembling. "I am not afraid when you hold me." Those words pierced through him. He had seen men die bravely and cry in fear. He had seen commanders break and soldiers scream. Yet here was a child, hunted and alone, showing more courage than most adults. He walked for hours through the tunnel until it opened into an abandoned station. Broken trains lay like skeletons in the dust. Elias set her down for a moment. "Rest," he said. "I'll find something for you." He searched the ruins, finding a half-burned ration pack. It wasn't much, but it was food. He brought it back, breaking the bar in half and giving her the larger piece. She hesitated, then ate slowly. Her silver eyes never left his face. When she finished, she whispered, "Why do you help me? You don't even know me." Elias looked at her, his voice low. "Because you deserve to live." The girl lowered her eyes. Her small fingers touched the cloak he had wrapped her in. "Mama said humans were dangerous, but you are not like them." Elias froze at those words. He wondered what her people had told her, what truths or lies she carried, but he did not ask. Not yet. The sound of engines came again, this time closer. Elias's instinct screamed. He lifted her into his arms. We have to move. They slipped out the far side of the station. Into the broken streets, Elias kept to the shadows, weaving between fallen towers. His heart pounded with every shout he heard in the distance. At one point, they reached a collapsed bridge. The river below was black with oil and ash. The only way across was a narrow beam of twisted metal. Elias looked down at the girl. Hold on tight. She wrapped her arms around his neck. He stepped onto the beam. The wind pushed. The water roared below. Every step was a fight against fear. But he moved slowly, carefully, until they reached the other side. The girl lifted her head, her silver, eyes glowing faintly in the dim light. They will not stop, she said again. They want me because I am the last. Elias wanted to ask what she meant, but there was no time. The sound of drones filled the air. He grabbed her hand and ran, weaving through alleys, ducking beneath broken walls. The drones scanned the streets with sharp beams of light. One beam swept close. The girl gasped. Elias pulled her under a collapsed roof. They held their breath as the drone hovered above. Its red eye blinked, searching, searching. Then it passed. Elias exhaled. His heart thundered. They moved again, climbing higher into the hills beyond the city. From there, Elias could see lights flickering in the far distance. Not soldiers, but a settlement. Maybe survivors, maybe safety. Girl's small hand tightened in his. Is that my family? She whispered. Elias did not answer. He did not want to give her false hope. He only said, maybe. As they walked, she began to hum softly, a strange, beautiful sound. Elias frowned. What is that? It's the song of my people, she said quietly. Mama taught me. She said it keeps the darkness away. Elias listened. The sound was haunting, almost otherworldly. It stirred something deep in him, something he could not explain. But then in the distance, another sound broke the calm. The roar of engines, many engines. Soldiers were not just searching anymore. They were closing in, surrounding. Elias pulled her close, his voice firm. We have to run. The girl looked at him with wide eyes, her voice steady. They will find us unless I show them what I can do. Elias froze. His breath caught. What do you mean? What can you do? She lowered her head, her silver eyes glowing brighter. Mama said never to use it, but if I don't, they will kill us. Elias stared at her. For the first time, he felt true fear. Not of the soldiers, not of the war, but of the unknown child in his care. The soldiers' lights drew closer. The ground shook with their approach. Elias whispered, What are you? The girl looked up at him, her voice calm, almost ancient. I am the last hope of my people. And before Elias could stop her, the air around them began to change. The hunters close. In the air around them shimmered. A faint light pulsed from the girl's silver eyes. Captain Elias felt the hairs on his neck rise. It was not fire, not electricity, but something deeper, like the world itself was holding its breath. The ground trembled. Dust lifted into the air, and the broken stones around them shook. Elias gripped his rifle but did not raise it. Fear pressed against his chest, not fear of the soldiers chasing them, but fear of the child he carried. The girl whispered, her voice calm but heavy. They will come closer if I do nothing. I can keep them away. Elias shook his head. No, you're just a child. You don't need to. But her power had already spread. The soldiers who had been climbing the ridge suddenly stopped. Their lights flickered, their radios hissed with static. Some fell to their knees as if an unseen weight crushed them. Others shouted in panic. The girl closed her eyes tighter, her small body shaking. Sweat rolled down her face. She was pushing, herself beyond her strength. Elias crouched beside her. Stop, you'll burn yourself out, she gasped. If I stop, they'll catch us. For long seconds, the air buzzed with her strange force. Then slowly it faded. The lights in the distance dimmed. The voices of the soldiers grew weaker. They were retreating. The girl collapsed against Elias's chest, her breathing fast and shallow. Elias held her. anger and sorrow twisting inside him. "You're just a child, why do you carry such power?" She whispered faintly. "Mama said, it is our gift and our curse." Elias carried her through the darkness, his mind racing. She was not just a survivor. She was something greater, something dangerous. That was why the soldiers wanted her dead, not because of who she was, but because of what she was. Hours passed as Elias moved carefully through the hills. The sky turned dark again, stars burning above. The girl slept, her small hand gripping his cloak even in dreams. Every sound made Elias tense, every owl cry, every branch crack. Then, without warning, a sharp light cut through the trees. Elias froze. Voices shouted, boots thundered. The soldiers had found them again. Elias ducked behind a fallen log, clutching the girl close, his heart hammered. He counted at least 6 voices. They were sweeping the hills in wide arcs, hunting like wolves. "Search the rocks," one voice barked. "She cannot be far." Elias's breath burned in his throat. He knew they could not outrun so many, not with the girl so weak. He had one choice left: fight. He set her gently behind the log. "Stay down. Don't move." Her silver eyes opened, full of fear. "You'll die if you fight them," Elias gave a grim smile. "I've been close to death many times, but I won't let them take you." He raised his rifle, his soldier's instincts sharpening. He moved like a shadow, striking fast. A soldier fell with a muffled cry. Another turned and shouted. Gunfire ripped through the night, sparks flew from the rocks. The girl covered her ears and closed her eyes. Elias fought fiercely, his training guiding every move, but there were too many. Bullets tore the ground around him. Grenades shook the earth. He dove behind cover, his chest heaving, his rifle nearly empty. The soldiers closed in. Their lights grew brighter, their voices shouted, "The human has her. Kill him, take the child." Elias's blood froze. They knew about him now. He was no longer just a man hiding with her. He was marked as her protector, her thief, her enemy. The girl crawled to his side, her small hands glowing faintly. "I can help," she whispered. "No," Elias said sharply. "You'll kill yourself." But her eyes met his, and in them he saw a strength far older than her years. "Then we'll die together." Before he could stop her, she raised her hands. A pulse of light burst outward. The soldiers staggered, their weapons clattering to the ground. Some screamed, clutching their heads, their radios shattered with sparks. Elias shielded his eyes. The light faded, and silence fell. The soldiers lay scattered, some unconscious, some crawling away in terror. The girl collapsed again. Elias caught her, his heart pounding. She was pale, her breathing weak. He held her tightly, whispering, "Don't do that again, please." Her lips trembled. "I only wanted to keep you safe." Elias looked at her fragile face, at the weight she carried. His chest ached with guilt and anger. This was not the burden for a child. He lifted her once more and ran deeper into the forest, leaving the broken soldiers behind. But he knew this was not the end. Every time she used her power, others would sense it. Others would come. At dawn, he reached a clearing. In the far distance, across the plains, he saw walls, towers, lights, a settlement. His heart stirred. Perhaps this was the place her family still lived. Perhaps hope still breathed behind those walls. The girl stirred weakly in his arms. "Home?" she whispered. Elias swallowed. "Maybe. We'll find out." But behind them, in the shadows of the forest, new voices rose. Not soldiers this time. Something darker, faster. Elias felt it in his bones. The hunters were not done. They were only beginning. The reunion attempt. The walls rose from the plains like the bones of a giant, tall towers of steel and stone, glowing faintly under the morning sky. Captain Elias had seen many fortresses in war, but this one felt different. It was not built for battle alone, it was built to protect something precious. The girl stirred in his arms as they approached. Her silver eyes flickered open. She looked at the settlement with a fragile hope. My family, she whispered. They are there. They must be. Elias did not answer. He wanted to believe her, but doubt pressed on him. What if her family was gone? What if only strangers waited behind those walls? Or worse, what if those walls held more enemies who wanted her dead? Still, he carried her forward, his body heavy with exhaustion, but his will unbroken. The path to the gate was long, guarded by watchtowers. Soldiers in pale armor stood on the walls, rifles ready. Stay close, Elias whispered, as if the child could walk on her own. He shifted her in his arms and lifted his free hand, showing he meant no harm. The guard spotted him at once. Shouts rose from the wall. Weapons aimed. Down at him, a voice rang out sharp and commanding. Halt! Identify yourself! Elias stopped, his chest heaving. I am a human soldier. I mean no harm. I carry a survivor, a child. She needs help. There was silence. The soldiers above muttered to each other. Then another voice shouted, A child! Show us. Elias pulled back the cloak just enough to reveal the girl's pale blue skin and silver eyes. The soldiers gasped. Their voices rose in alarm. It cannot be. She is dead. No, look at her. She lives. Impossible. The last heir was lost years ago. The gate groaned as it began to open. A small group of armed soldiers rushed out, their weapons aimed, but their eyes wide with shock. They surrounded Elias, staring at the girl as if they had seen a ghost. One soldier, older than the rest, stepped forward. His voice shook. Who are you? Where did you find her? Elias's throat was dry. She was on the battlefield beside her mother's body. I could not leave her. The girl stirred, her weak voice breaking the silence. Commander Rail, is that you? The old soldier froze. His rifle trembled. In his hands, tears filled his eyes. By the stars. It is you, Princess Kaelin. The others dropped their weapons in shock. Some fell to their knees, bowing their heads, the air filled with whispers. She lives. The heir lives. Elias felt the weight of their words, Princess. He had saved not just a child, but royalty, the last heir of a powerful family. The soldiers led him inside quickly, their faces torn between joy and fear. The settlement was alive with voices. People poured into the streets, gasping, crying. Some shouted her name, others fell to their knees. The girl, Princess Kaelin, lifted her head weakly, her silver eyes bright with emotion. I told you, my family would remember me. Elias held her tighter, but inside, unease grew. If she was truly the heir, then her survival was no small thing. It was fire on dry grass. It would spread, and it would burn. They brought him to the heart of the settlement, where a great hall stood. Torches burned along its walls. At the far end, an older woman rose from a throne of black stone, her eyes wide, her face pale. Kaelin, the woman whispered, her voice cracked with disbelief. Mother, the girl said softly, reaching out a trembling hand. The hall erupted with cries of joy and grief. The queen rushed forward, gathering her daughter in her arms. She sobbed openly, her strong voice breaking into pieces. My child, my light, I thought you were gone forever. Elias stepped back, watching silently. He had done it. He had returned her to her family. The weight he had carried for days finally lifted from his shoulders, but the joy was not shared by all. In the shadows of the hall, counselors whispered. Soldiers exchanged wary glances. Not all were pleased with her return. One man, tall and sharp-eyed, stepped forward, his voice cold. We buried her years ago. How do we know this is not a trick? A human brings her here. Why should we trust him? The queen's eyes burned with fury. She is my blood, I feel it, she is mine. But the counselor did not bow. His gaze locked on Elias. The human is dangerous. He has brought war into our gates. The girl weakly lifted her head. No, he saved me. He is the reason I am alive. Her words silenced the hall, but suspicion still lingered in the air. Elias felt the stares burning into him. He was no longer a savior. He was a threat. The queen turned to him, her face torn with gratitude and fear. You have done something no one else could. You have given me back my daughter, but you must understand. This changes everything. Elias nodded slowly. His soldier's instincts screamed that danger still lurked. He could see it in the counselor's cold eyes. He could feel it in the whispers. The queen clutched her daughter tightly, whispering, "You are safe now, my child. No one will ever take you again." But Elias knew it was not true. Outside the walls, the hunters had not stopped. They had only grown stronger, and deep in the shadows of the settlement, another pair of eyes watched, eyes that gleamed with hidden purpose. The truth revealed. The great hall grew quiet after the reunion. The queen still clutched her daughter as if she feared the girl would vanish again. Her tears stained the child's, dusty hair around them. Nobles and soldiers whispered, some in awe, others in doubt. Elias stood near the edge of the hall, his rifle strapped to his back. He had done what he set out to do, return the girl to her family. Yet the feeling in his chest was not relief, it was unease. He could sense it in the way the counselor's eyes lingered on him, sharp and cold. The queen pulled back at last, cupping her daughter's pale blue face. "Kaelin, my light, tell me, how did you survive?" The girl's silver eyes filled with tears. "Mama tried to protect me. She hid me under her cloak when the soldiers came. She told me to run, but I did not. I stayed with her until..." Her voice broke and she pressed her face against her mother's shoulder. The queen kissed her hair, whispering, "You are safe now. That nightmare is behind us." But Elias knew it was not over. The soldiers would not stop. Not now. Not ever. The counselor stepped forward, his tone sharp. "We must be careful, Your Majesty. If word spreads that the princess lives, it will ignite war again. Our enemies will rise, they will come for her." The queen's eyes hardened. "Let them come. We will protect her." But the counselor's gaze cut to Elias. "And what of the human? He claims he found her. But why should we believe him? Humans are not our allies. Perhaps he is part of the plan," the hall murmured, suspicion growing like fire. Elias lifted his chin, his voice calm but firm. "I had no plan except saving her. I found her crying beside her mother's body. I carried her across battlefields and through soldiers who wanted her dead. If that makes me your enemy, then so be it." The queen studied him for a long moment. Then she nodded. "He speaks the truth. I see it in my daughter's eyes. She trusts him." The princess nodded weakly. "He kept me safe. He never let go. He is not like the others." That silenced many in the hall, but the counselor's suspicion did not fade. His eyes narrowed. "Even so, we must know the truth. Why did the soldiers want her dead? Why were they hunting a child with such fury?" The question hung heavy. The queen's face darkened. She turned to her daughter. "Kaelin, do you know?" The girl hesitated. Her hands trembled. She looked down. "Mama told me. I am the last." The hall gasped. Whispers filled the air. "The last, it is true. She carries the bloodline. She cannot be allowed to fall into enemy hands." Elias frowned. "The last of what?" The queen answered with a heavy voice. "The last of our royal blood. The last heir to the crown. If she dies, our line ends. And with it, the power that protects our people." Elias's chest tightened. So it was true. She was not just a child. She was the key to her people's survival. That was why the soldiers had hunted her. To end a bloodline. To crush a kingdom. But the counselor spoke again, his voice sharp. "There is more. Tell them, Your Majesty. Tell them why she is feared." The queen's eyes burned with anger, but she did not deny it. She looked at her daughter with sorrow. "You are not only the last heir, Kaelin. You carry the gift, the power of our ancestors, a power that many fear, a power that could shape the galaxy." The girl's silver eyes shimmered. Elias remembered the night when she had pushed soldiers back with light, when the air had burned. With unseen force, it was true. She carried something far greater than herself. The queen lowered her head. That is why they wanted you dead. Not only because of who you are, but because of what you are. If you grow, if you learn to use it. No army can stand against you. The hall erupted in shouts. Some cried out in joy, others in fear. She will save us. No! She will destroy us. This power is dangerous. Elias felt the tension grow. His hand brushed the grip of his rifle. He could see the cracks forming in this place of supposed safety. The girl had been returned to her family. But now, she was no longer just a child. She was a weapon, a prize, a curse. The queen stood tall, her voice cutting through the noise. Silence. She is my daughter. She is our future. Anyone who dares harm her will face me. But in the shadows, the counselor leaned close to another noble, whispering words Elias could not hear. The look in his eyes was enough. There would be betrayal. The girl tugged at Elias's cloak. Her small voice trembled. They don't want me. Not all of them, I can feel it. Elias crouched beside her, his voice low. Then I'll stand with you no matter what they say. She looked at him, her silver eyes filled with a strange light. They will try to take me. They will not stop. Promise me you won't let them. Elias gripped her hand. I promise. Before the queen could speak again, a horn sounded outside the walls. Soldiers rushed into the hall, their armor dented, their faces pale. Your Majesty, one cried. The enemy is here, they surround the city. The hall fell into chaos. The queen's face turned to stone. She clutched her daughter close. They come for her. Elias's hand went to his rifle, his heart steady now. Then, we fight, but deep inside he knew. This battle was not just about walls and weapons. It was about the truth, and the truth was far more dangerous than any army. The legacy. The horn's cry still echoed through the hall when the ground shook. Outside, the sound of engines and marching feet grew louder. The enemy had come, not in secret patrols this time, but in full force. The queen stood tall, her hand gripping her daughter's shoulders. They want her, she said, her voice sharp as steel. They will burn our city to the ground if we let them. The counselor stepped forward quickly, his voice cutting through the chaos. Then give them what they want, surrender the girl, and they will leave. Gasps filled the hall. Soldiers, muttered angrily. Some nobles looked away in shame. The queen's eyes blazed. Never. She is mine, she is our blood. I will die before I hand her over. But Elias saw the truth in the counselor's eyes. His words were not fear, they were betrayal. Somewhere deep in this city, someone had already sent word to the enemy. The princess clung to Elias's cloak. Her small voice shook. They are close, I can feel their hunger. The queen turned to Elias, her face hard but her voice trembling. You brought her to me and I thank you with all my heart. But now I ask you, can you protect her again? Can you carry her through fire and... Va? Elias's answer was simple. His grip on his rifle tightened. I will not let them take her. The queen nodded, her eyes glistening. Then go. Take her through the old tunnels beneath the city. They will lead you beyond the walls. I will hold the line here. Elias's chest tightened. You'll die. The queen smiled bitterly. Perhaps, but if she lives, I live through her. The princess's silver eyes filled with tears. No, mother, don't leave me again. The queen bent low, cupping her daughter's face. My star, my light. Sometimes a mother protects her child not by holding on but by letting go. Live, Kaelin, live and lead when the time comes. Soldiers rushed into the hall, shouting, They breached the gates! The queen stood tall, her cloak flowing. Go now, Elias, take her before it's too late. Elias grabbed the girl's hand, pulling her toward the back halls. The sound of war thundered outside, explosions shaking the walls. Through narrow corridors and hidden staircases, they ran. The girl stumbled, but Elias carried her when she faltered. Behind them, the city roared with fire and screams. At last they reached the tunnels, dark and cold. The air smelled of earth and rust. Elias moved quickly, every echo of boots, above reminding him that time was short. But even in the dark, betrayal followed. Shadows moved ahead, torches flickered. The counselor's men waited. Well done, human. The counselor's voice hissed from the shadows. You've brought the prize straight to me. Elias raised his rifle, fury burning in his chest. You sold her out? The counselor sneered. She is dangerous. If she lives, she will bring endless war. I do what must be done. Soldiers stepped forward, weapons ready. Elias pulled the girl behind him. His voice was low. Stay down, Kalen. The counselor's smirk widened. You think you can stop all of us? Elias fired. The tunnel exploded with sound. Sparks lit the darkness. Soldiers fell. He fought like a cornered wolf, every shot measured, every move precise, but they kept coming, pressing him back. The girl cried out, Elias! The counselor raised his blade, moving for her. But before he could strike, the air shimmered, the girl's silver eyes blazed with light. Her voice rang out, not weak, but strong. Enough! A wave of force burst through the tunnel, throwing soldiers against the walls. The ground cracked, dust fell from the ceiling. The counselor staggered, his face twisted with fear. You are too young to wield it, he gasped. You will destroy us all. The girl stepped forward, her small form glowing with power. Then fear me, but never touch me again. The counselor turned to flee, but Elias fired once. His body fell, silence echoing after. Elias lowered his rifle slowly, his eyes wide. He turned to the girl. What are you? Her silver eyes dimmed and she swayed. I don't know, I only know. I must survive. Elias caught her before she fell, cradling her close, his chest heaved. The tunnel walls were cracked, but still standing, he carried her forward, leaving the bodies behind. At last they reached the surface. The night sky stretched. Wide above them, the city behind burned, flames rising like a funeral pyre. The girl stirred weakly, her voice soft. Mother, she stayed behind. Elias looked back at the burning city, his heart heavy. She gave her life for you. Don't waste it. The girl pressed her face against his chest. I will not, I promise. In the distance, across the hills, other lights shone, other kingdoms, other enemies. The war was not done, the hunters would not stop. But Elias walked on, the child in his arms, his steps steady, his eyes fixed on the horizon. He was no longer just a soldier. She was no longer just a child. Together, they were something more, something the galaxy had not expected. And in the silence of the night, Elias whispered to himself, They will come again, but so will we.